Hello guys, welcome back to yet another video. Let's just get right into it. Dragon Ball Super Part 4 of the English Funimation dub releases. So basically, every few months or so, Dragon Ball Super, Funimation, they put out a new Dragon Ball Super home release containing about 13 episodes, English dubbed and subbed. So both Japanese and English, you probably know by now. But, anyway, Part 4, the bonus feature is an interview with Schemmel, which I thought was really fascinating, and I think the interview with Schemmel in Dragon Ball Super Blu-ray Part 4 is the best bonus feature to come out of the Dragon Ball Super Blu-ray sets, going forward. And with Part 5 having a coffee break with Mai and Trunks, that doesn't sound too interesting to me. So yeah, again, even with Part 5 coming out in October, I still think the interview with Schemmel in Part 4 is the best. And I'll tell you why in today's video. That's basically the gist, is that I'm reviewing an interview, which does sound kind of weird, but let's just go with it. So, an interview with Schemmel starts off with Schemmel basically talking about returning to Dragon Ball and Dragon Ball Super in particular as Goku, and then he leads into the Goku Black stuff, because Part 4 is kicking off the Future Trunks arc, and, as you know, the Future Trunks arc, that has Goku Black, and Schemmel has had a rocky relationship with the Goku Black voice. So in Xenoverse 2, he talks about, Xenoverse 2 very openly and very candidly, which I do respect. And he was like, we didn't have the resources to us, for us to really make a great voice, or to really mimic the Japanese, or to be very faithful to the Japanese, because for Xenoverse 2 they didn't have much direction to go off of, and that's been talked about before, but it's just very cool to see Schemmel basically open up like this in an interview, especially on a Funimation Blu-ray release, and just talk about it very openly and very honestly, which I do respect. Basically, he was like, we didn't have the resources for Xenoverse 2, so I kind of, took Goku Black, and I was like, okay, let's just make an evil Goku voice. Let's just make Goku sound very sinister and just all gruff and stuff. It's just Goku, but the dark version, I guess, like Yami Yugi, for reference, basically, what he was thinking. That's just an example off the top of my head, and how he could have been picturing, Goku Black and that character. But once they got into the Future Trunks arc and started dubbing it, that's when they really knew the character. So in the interview, he explains very thoroughly that it was the resources at the time for Xenoverse 2 that, didn't give, that basically he didn't have enough knowledge of the character and, a lot of background, because if I remember correctly, the Xenoverse 2 game, the Future Trunks arc was just coming out, or it's, just, on the cusp of coming out, right before. So we didn't even get a proper look at the Goku Black character until well into the Future Trunks arc, and that was after Schemmel played Goku Black. And with Rose, he talks about, less so than the base form in this interview, but he still talks about Rose, and he talks about, how he was trying to match Zamasu's English voice, and how that was kind of skewed in Xenoverse 2, but when they got into Dragon Ball Super, it's much more refined. Goku Black's voice is much more refined in Dragon Ball Super's dub than it is, obviously, in Xenoverse 2, because that's a video game. They kind of have to rush things. Not rush, necessarily, just not give out that all, because they have other projects and stuff, so it could come off as very rushed. And also, they don't have the, they did not have the resources and the knowledge, both in the anime and also just contexts, within Xenoverse 2. They just didn't have that, so Schemmel was kind of struggling with Goku Black, and I could understand why. And he also talked about, which were, I find kind of fascinating, that he doesn't go and catch up with Dragon Ball Super. Like, he doesn't go and watch ahead in Dragon Ball Super in the Japanese version. No, he doesn't do that at all. He doesn't watch ahead. Like, he's still in, the post-Future Trunks arc stuff. He hasn't really watched ahead to the Tournament of Power or anything like that because, well, they haven't, recorded it as far as I'm aware. So, yeah, I thought that was interesting because I assume that voice actors would, like, go ahead. Like, if there's an option available to watch ahead, why wouldn't you take that? So I find it very interesting. Again, I'm not judging him. I think he's a very talented actor. And I also think that a lot of the flack that Sean Schemmel gets is pretty undeserved. Of course, he, made mistakes in the past, but we're all human. And those mistakes are basically yelling at kids on Twitter. Because he has a point when he says, people aren't trained professionals like him. They're not trained actors. And I'm not being a Sean Schemmel fanboy. I've openly criticized the Dragon Ball Super dub. I'm not trying to praise or suck the dick of the Dragon Ball Super dub. I'm not trying to do that at all. Because I've openly criticized the dub, obviously, because if you watch my content, you know I have a love-hate relationship with the dub of Dragon Ball Super. But anyway, that's not the point here. That's, the point is, Sean Schemmel, he gets a lot of undeserved hate, and in this interview he opens up to that, and he basically explains himself in the Goku Black voice, very, professionally and all of that, and you'll see that in part 2 of the Sean Schemmel interview, that Geekdom 101, Danny, good friend of mine, he did a, Sean Schemmel interview. Part 1 is up on his channel now, and Part 2 will be up later. Part 2, he gets into the more sort of Xenoverse 2 and the whole, stuff about, Goku's character and Goku's voice. And in Part 1, Sean Schemmel talks about, his early life growing up and then his introduction to voiceover, but Part 2 is mainly going to be, voicing Goku and, stuff like that. Get into more the Dragon Ball centric stuff rather than, his personal life, I guess. You know what I mean? So anyway, if you haven't watched Geekdom 101's video, the Sean Schemmel interview part 1, I deeply recommend it. I mean, if you want to get, like, the best interview possible with Sean Schemmel, that is where you can get it. And I'm not just talking about this because he's a friend of mine. He really nails this interview. Like, all the questions are great. He conducts himself very well, Sean Schemmel and Danny. So I'm not just saying that because he's a friend of mine and I like promoting, my friend's stuff, even though he doesn't need the promotion. But anyway, I'm just saying, like, it's a great interview. Please go check it out if you haven't already. And also, if you have Dragon Ball Super Part 4 on Blu-ray, I don't think the DVD has the extra features. I'm not sure on that, but that's what I've heard from a few people, so I don't know. But on the Blu-ray in particular, go check out the Part 4 interview with Sean Schemmel if you want to get a taste of what Sean Schemmel interview part 2 will be like on Geekdom 101's channel. So if you want a little taste of that, go watch the Dragon Ball Super Part 4 interview. And, this interview with Sean Schemmel is very honest, it's very open, and I like that. Sean Schemmel didn't hold back when it came to the questions about Goku Black. Like, he openly said we didn't have the knowledge or the background history with Goku Black's character. That's why it wasn't so good and it wasn't as refined as Dragon Ball Super's dub. And I really like that. I really respect when a voice actor is honest. And, a lot of people will BS you and just tell you sort of company lines. But Sean Schemmel really deeply cares about this character. And you can tell during the Part 4 interview with Sean Schemmel and also Danny's interview, you can really tell, man. So yeah, I really liked this interview. This is easily the best Dragon Ball Super special feature on the Blu-ray sets. This is easily the best one. I honestly must say that it is the best interview. Not interview. I think the Geekdom 101 interview is far better than the Funimation one, although like it is 2 parts and it's like an hour each. But anyway, for a 14-minute interview, it was really good and easily the best bonus feature on the Dragon Ball Super Blu-ray sets, at least for now. That can all change with Tournament of Power stuff, and the Tournament of Power Blu-ray sets I'm very much looking forward to, the bonus features, because apart from having the episodes in HD, and if you already have the dubbed episodes on streaming, there's not much point to get the Blu-rays, as I've said before. But, you know, do check out part 4 at least. If you have to buy one, get part 4, so far at least, because the interview with Sean Schemmel, it is the best bonus feature, as I've said in the past. So yeah, that's going to do it for me, guys. Please make sure to rate, comment, and subscribe. And as always, I'll catch you on the next one. Sean Schemmel, please, like, you know, lay off Sean Schemmel, man. Like, honestly, like, I think he gets a lot of shit, undeserved shit, and of course, people can criticize him, you know, it's open, you know, freedom of speech, it's criticism, it's good to criticize others when they do something bad, but I think it's, like, it's gotten to the point where it's like, people blame Sean Schemmel for the Hope of the Universe line, even though he fucking despises that line, and he despises the old producers at, you know, Dragon Ball Z, Funimation, and I'm not talking about Chris Sabat, who is the current producer, but I'm talking about, like, people like Barry Watson, and people like that sort of Americanized Dragon Ball Z at the time, you know, in 1999, and even before that with the Ocean dub, but I'm not going to get into that, that's a whole other can of worms that I might get into in a later video. But anyway, you know, people criticize Sean Schemmel for the Hope of the Universe line, even though he didn't have prior knowledge of the scripts, and when he did, he didn't like it. And, like, again, he even said on Twitter to me, you know, publicly, that he was uncomfortable with saying that line because it's, you know, too much of an, you know, ego thing for Goku to say, to proclaim that he's the hope of the universe. He even disliked that line at the time, which I thought was interesting. So people criticize Sean Schemmel way too much, and obviously there's deserved criticism for everyone, not just Sean Schemmel. But anyway, that's going to do it for me. Please make sure to rate, comment, and subscribe, as I've said, and I'll catch you on the next one. Goodbye.